4,000 Weeks by Oliver Burkman. Probably the only productivity book that you ever need to read. That's the book we are going to be seeing in today's video. Let's get started. Hey folks, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Praveen Ramesh. As I said, we're going to be speaking about 4,000 weeks, which revolves around this central philosophy that you have only 4,000 weeks to live, right? So which means if you're 19 years old, you've already lived 1,000 weeks. If you're like around 38, you've lived like 2,000 weeks, and by the time you're 76, 77, you would have kind of had like 4,000 weeks. That is the major life expectancy across most of the countries, right? So this whole self-help industry or the productivity industry works around the fact that how can you make the most of these 4,000 weeks, right? So that is the reason a lot of folks follow productivity gurus or book channels like these to see how can I make the most of my time, how can I be present, how can I ensure that I do a lot of things with the limited amount of time that I have, right? So this book is an antidote to productivity, and it kind of tells the same message that most of your philosophical / mindfulness book says, which is to stay in the present, be happy with what you have. But where this book kind of differs, that it is like it's both poetic and philosophical, and yet very, 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 very practical when it comes to the way it delivers the lessons that it wants to. This book starts off on a very great note about this conveyor belt example. Right? So imagine your life to be like a conveyor belt where each passing week is like, you have like this one big jar, right? So, as humans, what we want to do is fill this jar with a lot of these to do, from work, from personal life, from relationships, from social events and things like that. And on top of this, you have these big rock items. I want to travel to 100 countries, I want to make X amount of money, and I want to do so much well at work and all those things, right? And each week that passes where we are not filling up these jars with pebbles, which is your daily to-do list or weekly to-do list, and filling up with big rocks, which is the larger goals that you have for life, we feel like we're wasting our time, right? So, imagine, you're constantly dissatisfied if your jar is half empty, you're constantly dissatisfied, even if it's quarter empty, and you're like very overwhelmed if it's like brimming and, kind of overflowing and things like that. So this leads to this state called the existential overwhelm, right? So what is existential overwhelm? Is where you feel like you're never doing enough, even though you're squeezing out the maximum amount of time on every single day. With this conveyor belt example, I want to quickly get to, hey, how can I ever overcome this, right? So I want to share a small story about Warren Buffett, where, one of the pilots from his private jet asked him, hey, I have so many things to do. How do I ever kind of prioritize my life, right? So here is Warren Buffett's example. So Warren Buffett told the pilot that, make a list of 25 things that you ever want to do in your life. Okay, said the pilot. And then he made those list of 25 things and then asked Warren, now Warren made this list of 25 things. So Warren Buffett tells the pilot that strike off the list from 6 to 25. Those don't matter because life is kind of too short to work on all the things that you want to do, right? So pick the top 5 things and just go about accomplishing it, right? And then the pilot asks, what if I've like kind of ticked one of those top 5 items? Then you pick one of the things from those 25 and add it to the bucket list. So what is this? Praveen, you could say, hey, all this works in the philosophical life. How does it work in the real life, right? So I'll tell you why you should be following Warren Buffett's advice, and something that I have actively started kind of embracing his advice, right? So first one, efficiency trap, or the productivity treadmill as I call it, right? So here is like a thought process or a simple thought experiment for you. So imagine, you are replying to all the Slack messages at work. You're very, very prompt at replying to all the emails that come your way. Or probably you're that person who turns up for all the social events that, whatever is planned. And then let's say you end up, doing everything on your bucket list that is ever needs to be done. What happens? There is never a day where you've ticked off all the things on your to-do list, walk out, go for a run, spend time with family and things like that. The more work you get done or the more productive you get, the more work that you end up getting, right? So it's like a treadmill where you're constantly running, but you aren't moving forward. So the world is designed in a way that the more work you get done, you will keep getting more work. the more things that you get done on a social front, there'll be more social engagements to attend. So the world is designed in this way. So that's the first reason I really feel you should think about Warren Buffett's advice. The second reason, the world is filled with infinite choices. And come to think about it, you're never going to be happy traveling if you're going to think that, hey, I need to travel every country in the world, right? There are 200 plus countries. And if you're like an average individual like myself, either you're not going to have the time to travel every country, or you're not going to have the money, or once you finish travel, there is always going to be other things that you have not done. Right? So the world always offers infinite choices with the limited time that you could do. So you could do 100 things from a content creation front. You could travel to 100 countries. You could end up doing like 100 different jobs. So there is always infinite choices available that will make us feel like we aren't doing enough. And the third one is because we have this feeling that we will always be left behind, right? So let's say a couple of my friends are joining a new company. I'll feel like, oh my god, okay, if I'm not doing the jump now, maybe I'll miss out on a higher salary. So, or probably let's say you're starting a content journey because of the fear of missing out, and not because you're like really passionate about it. Or probably you're joining like a new swimming class, not because you really want to improve your endurance, but because a lot of your friends are kind of joining. So what happens with this kind of a behavior that is driven by the fear of missing out is that your goalpost or your habits or your activities are constantly shifting. We are adding pebbles to your jar, but you're never happy or satisfied with your choices. So you might ask me, hey Praveen, how do I even overcome this? Great that you have told me why I feel unsatisfied, or why the world is giving me more work, or I do have a lot of choices. So there is some way out, folks. Let me tell you that it's not all that hard, but I have kind of the 4 takeaways that I took away from this book was to embrace finitude, right? So what does finitude mean? So finitude means that you have to embrace the fact that you cannot, let's say if you're a travel enthusiast, you cannot visit possibly every country in the world, or probably even if you visit every country in the world, you're not going to ensure that you visit every city in that country, right? The universe offers you like multiple choices, and there is no way that you are going to end up traveling to every country or doing everything that life or the world offers you to do. Finitude requires you making a choice and sticking with it and ensuring that you face the consequences, right? So you say, hey, I'm happy visiting these 30 countries. So be it that if I don't visit the rest 150, 180 countries. Or it could mean that, hey, you know what? I am going to stick on to my career in this path, and so I will face the consequences when it comes to it. Right? So embrace finitude. That is the first big lesson. Second one, choose what matters to you, right? The biggest problem that the productivity industry or let's say the self-help industry has sold to us is the fact that you need to squeeze out efficiency from the last minute that is available to you. But I have come to this conclusion after I always had this thought, but after reading this book I came to this conclusion that you need not squeeze out every minute that is available to you. Let's say you enjoy hanging out with friends. Let's say you enjoy doing a few things by yourself. Or let's say you are someone who enjoys a drink or two during the weekend. Go ahead and do it, not because you want to squeeze out every minute of the time, but do things that you enjoy doing, right? So you need not ensure that you have to make every minute count. You can do something because it gives you joy, it gives you happiness, right? So that is the second major thing. So choose what matters to you rather than the world letting you know, hey, this is what you should be doing. Third one, practice deliberate areas of failures, right? So again, this is something that I am embracing myself. I'm practicing it very, very actively, which is something to say, hey, what if my desk is like, let's say 80% done? What if my house is not like perfectly clean? What if my closet or my shelf is not like perfectly arranged? What if my bookshelf is kind of random, but I'm okay if I'm doing well at work and shooting videos consistently? So practice these areas of deliberate failures where you will tell yourself that, hey, it's okay for me to fail in few aspects of my life. As long as I'm doing things that I enjoy doing, I'm okay with facing the consequences of things being at 60%, 70%, because you will have times where you might have to devote more time to your family. There will be times where you have to devote more time to work, and you will have times where you have to probably devote more times to the things that you are passionate about. So which means you are deliberately choosing to fail in a few other aspects of your life, which is absolutely okay. So practice deliberate failure whenever you can and get more mindful about things, right? So this, I don't want to end the video on a gloomy note, but what the author really argues is to say, hey, imagine if this was the last coffee that you are ever gonna have, or imagine, let's say, this was the last meeting that you are gonna have with your friend. Are you treating every single activity that you do the same way, with the same intent and the same mindfulness that you would do if it was the last time you were doing it, right? So that way we can start taking more out of our lives and enjoy every moment that we have, rather than trying to think, oh my god, you know, I could be doing something else when I'm speaking with this friend. Oh my god, okay, I should be doing something else while, you know, shooting this video, and all those sorts of things. So practice finitude, be grateful, be mindful, and you know, probably I'll see you in the next video. I hope you enjoyed this book review, and until I see you in the next video, this is Praveen Ramesh signing off.